do an arena, but I'm gonna actually break down really quick and do this. So, from what I've seen so far, warriors are so strong. In my opinion, along the lines of they're definitely, I don't want to say too much, but they're definitely very good. Rogues are more OP, so nerf them, not us. So on the first talent row, we've got War Machine, which is essentially useless in PvP. I mean, sure, you can use it if you like, but like 10% more rage, it's not nearly as significant as it needs to be to compete with sudden death, in my opinion. Where your attacks have a chance to make your next execute cost no rage, regardless of health, and it deals damage as if you spent 40 rage, which is a decent, not massive, but it's a decent execute. Skull Splitter, no. Double time, you're gonna run it for some things, like if you need just a ton of mobility, maybe you're playing with a class that already has a lot of stuns. You won't need Stormbolt. Impending Victory, like maybe it is strong, right? Every 30 seconds I can heal for 20% of my health, and that's definitely strong, but it's niche, right? So I'm gonna have to actually learn like when it's better to do that. And then I'm gonna tie in all the PvP talents. Don't worry. Massacre. This is a difficult row for me because you know my instinct is rend. You know, you want rend. You want that. Like as little slams as you can. You basically want to be spending rage on everything except for slam, if you can. So like you want to save it for Mortal Strike, because if you in a perfect world you'd be Mortal Striking like nobody's business. But it's already hitting like a truck. This is all subject to change, but this is just my thoughts. So on to the talents again. Fervor of Battle, Whirlwind dealing 10% increased damage and slams your primary target. Not even close to competing with these two, right? Massacre, Execute is usable on targets below 35% health, and I'm going to tie all this in a second. Sorry, someone just whispered me. But the next row, Defensive Stance, Second Wind, irrelevant. Bounding Stride, you use it just like I think a common thing is going to be like Bounding Stride double time if you're not worried about being like the target, if you're not worried about just getting bursted down or kind of caught out. It depends. It really depends. We're gonna have to test it more. We're gonna have to see what it actually plays well into. Collateral damage, when you pop sweeping strikes, everything that you use that spends rage refunds 20% of that rage. It's okay. Cleave, why is this a talent? Warbreaker, AoE, it's essentially your artifact weapon, but it replaces Colossus Smash, which I don't know how I feel about that. I think honestly, I think that was a pretty baseline. Like that felt good as a warrior, so that you could switch targets and not have to worry about like waiting 45 seconds or like every so often getting a proc. So I go collateral damage, and then in for the kill. Colossus Smash increases your haste, or by 20%, by 10%, or by 20% if the target is below 20% health. Colossus Smash, too long of a cooldown, last 10 seconds. Random proc chance, it's kind of like if you don't want an extra button, maybe. Avatar, in my opinion, this is the only option. 20 seconds of 20% increased damage on a 1.5 minute cooldown, that's pretty insane. Deadly Calm reduces the rage cost of your abilities, same thing. It's just they put it as a talent, I don't know why. Anger Management, you can use this if you want. Reduces the cooldown on Colossus Smash and Blade Storm. Dreadnought, Overpower, has 2 charges and increases the damage of your next Mortal Strike by an additional 10%. So this is where stacking your buffs is going to be a bit more important, right? So, and then Ravager, niche, you can use it, AoE, whatever. I still prefer Blade Storm. I just like it if you're in a situation that you need to Blade Storm out of. Most good teams are just gonna not stand in Ravager, right? Like, pretty simple. But what you're gonna go ahead and do here for actually I'll go into the PvP talents. I'm an orc, so I'll play Relentless a lot of the time. Against Comstar, I'm afraid that I'm gonna get caught out and like I could die in like a stun, like RMP, definitely Trinket. Um, Against a good RMP, I don't know. You can run Relentless as well if you're just sitting D stance, like I don't know. Sharpen, pretty obvious choice. And then Death Sentence. So I'm gonna explain what makes it so strong in just a minute here. But and then Storm of Destruction just makes Bladestorm a 1 minute cooldown, and it applies MS to all your targets, which I kind of like. But obviously, like I don't choose. This is just for fun right now. I would probably choose between Banner, Dual, Spell Reflection, Disarm, and then you can also replace that for Death Sentence. Um, Depending on what you want, if you need to be more defensive, if you need to stop more CC, if you're things along those lines. Now, the really powerful thing here. So you want to build. So if you're going for like your biggest damage and you want to like absolutely pop someone, so first things first. Obviously, Battle Shout's new. 10% attack power. You want to have that, right? Just make sure you have that up. And then for your biggest Mortal Strike, okay? So when you're first running in, I'm not gonna duel this guy right now. I'll kill him in a second, but I want to explain this. One sec. Oh, he's blood anyway, so no thank you. So the thing is, as you see with Dreadnought, right? So 2 charges of Overpower, and it increases per charge the damage to your Mortal Strike by 10%. So 20% increased damage of Mortal Strike if you've just used 2 Overpowers. And then you're going to Colossus Smash, which increases the damage you deal to them by 30%. So that's 50% increased damage so far, with an additional 30% increased damage from Sharpened Blade. That's 80%. Plus your little Swifty, you know, Avatar, an additional 20% overall damage. Your Mortal Strike is going to be doing 100% increased damage. The math breakdown of that is a bit different because some of it's overall damage, some of it is directly your Mortal Strike, but for simplicity's sake, let's just go ahead and say you're going to be trucking kids if you do that right. So, like, you're used to running in auto Colossus smashing and just pumping out whatever you can, but that's actually not the way now because your Colossus Smash is going to be your kill windows. So every 45 seconds, you're like, okay, I have this 10-second kill window that you're going to coordinate with your partner. So that's going to be your really big MS. Your really big, like, you can chunk people too right now. So you can chunk them for like 30% of their health, 35%, maybe 40. I'm not sure. I haven't tested it against everything. And also it's very gear dependent. I'm not very geared, but c'est la vie, you know, it is what it is. Second of all, okay, I think this is what makes Warriors the absolute, like, this is definitely the part that makes Warriors very good, let's say. Let's just say they're very good, alright? So, sudden death, right? Your attacks have a chance to make your execute cost and rage, like I went over. So it's basically like you have a random chance to be able to execute someone at any health, okay? Massacre. Execute is now usable on targets below 35% health. So, before they're at 35% health, you're getting procs of sudden death, right? So you can execute at any health, and then once you get to 35, you technically could spam execute. Now keep both of those in mind, because if you combine that with Death Sentence, it's insane. Execute now is a 15-yard range. Wow. And it causes you to charge to your target when used, right? So every time sudden death so already you have charge, right? If you go, so in my opinion, that kind of rules out double time a lot of the time, but double time, sure, you just would be insanely mobile with double time, but Death Sentence, so you're proccing executes, and you execute charge people at any health, regardless of any other factors. You can, if your execute procs, you can charge to them with an execute, or if you're rooted, and this happened to me yesterday, and I have this in a video. I'm 15, it must be 15 yards because it has a 15-yard range, but I was rooted away from a mage, and he was sitting like definitely past where all my abilities can hit, and I was just executing him in a route. And so, like, with all these combined, with sudden death, death sentence, massacre, you can almost constantly charge execute people. So that means now you're staying on mages, you're staying on demon hunters, you're staying on these classes that whose and mistweavers whose mobility previously was kind of like making warrior null and void in a sense, where you're not going to have enough uptime on them, so you got to choose a different kill target. Now that's not the case. Now you can stick to whatever target you want, right? For the most part. Um, you can stick to whatever target you want. And then on top of that, I mean, obviously you can go bounding stride, so you have a 30-second heroic leap with double time. That's 2 charges. It's a lot. So you can have insane mobility. You can have mobility spec. You can have like ultra defensive, go dual spell effect disarm, against like certain cleaves where it's like a like turbo, for example. They have their cooldown they have their like big burst every minute, right? And that lines up perfectly with master and commander. So every minute you can just auto commanding shout their goes. Probably not the best thing, but it's a crutch if you need it. Shadow the Colossus, like, you already have enough overpowers. They're already procking enough, procking enough. Banner, obvious. It reduces crowd control by 50%, 1.5 minute cooldown. You're gonna want that in some situations. Sharpened Blade, that's like, in my opinion, you have to take Sharpened Blade, no matter what. 50% MS with 30% increase on your next Immortal Strike. Like, that's crazy. Duel reduces their damage by 50% for 6 seconds. Super powerful. Dueling Ebon Bolts, Chaos Bolts, just anything that is going to ruin your team, essentially, you can just duel. Spell Reflect, obviously, versus Caster Cleaves or anything that you don't want to, like, if it's a Resto Druid, you want to reflect clones. Resto Shaman, you want to reflect hexes, and tons of stuff, right? With the crazy offensiveness of priests reflecting penances or whatever it may be, to live that last second that you need while your healers in CC. And then you've got spell or disarm, which is pretty obvious. It's 4 seconds, so it feels it doesn't feel as good as it could be. Like maybe a 6-second disarm, but maybe that would be too overpowered. I don't know. Disarm's good. 45-second cooldown, it's good. Right? I can't complain about disarm. Okay. And that's kind of what I wanted to cover right now as far as the arms warrior goes, because it's obviously my main. It's been my highest experience, and I know what I'm talking about when it comes to a lot of things. Like, maybe I don't know everything. No one does. We're always learning, and especially with this being such a new with the new iteration of the pre-patch and BFA coming and all these new talents and your baselines taken out. A lot of things no longer kind of built into the class and weaved in. Taking away the artifact weapon makes it feel a little bit clunky, because there's so many things that the artifact weapon did that you may not have realized. Maybe that's going to be better with Azurite armor. Not sure. It just, that's up to Blizzard, man. Like, you gotta cross your fingers at that point and just hope, that they make good decisions with it and that it develops, because it could be something really cool. At the moment, I'm not enthralled by it, but yeah, has potential. Let's say it has potential. Personally, I'm super excited for BFA. I do have this predicament where I have alts, as we all do, and it kind of sucks because I was really enjoying Ellie. It finally felt like it was in a really good place, and then now it does no damage, and it's essentially a broken class until 8.1, and who knows how long that's gonna take. It's kind of like Blizzard just didn't have enough time. We all know this story. We all know Blizzard's debacle of BFA and some of the changes that people are very divisive about. But for the most part, I'm really excited. Like, and that also might root from the fact that Warriors are in a pretty good place right now. So I know there's also the changes of Gladiator, and people are complaining about 2400. 50 wins above 2400 giving you Gladiator, but if you think about it, that just increases. Like, sure, the high end players who are getting rank 1, they're still going to be competing for rank 1. You know, like, it doesn't affect everyone as much as everyone likes to think it does. They're like, oh, it doesn't have the same significance. You know, I like that. People who get 2400 aren't gladiators. You know what? That's great for you, but you don't represent, and we don't represent, you know, the majority of players. So obviously, everyone's like, oh, we want PvP to be more exciting, more people play. Okay, well, people who can't get any rewards from PvPing are probably like, nah, no thanks, right? And so, you know, they're inciting some and galvanizing this want to actually have, well, and also with BFA being more of a PvP centric expansion, it seems so far. I don't know, kind of with the Horde versus Alliance theme. Um, I think the Gladiator being at 2400, it not only increases the likelihood that people are going to want to engage in PvP and try their hand at it, but it also makes something more attainable and more uh, satisfying, you know? Because, like, we've all been there. We've all been 5 points off Glad. We've all been 5 points off rank 1. And it comes down to this ridiculous rating push where a group of 30 people are taking up 80% of the spots, right? Like, they're just like not calling out names, but like certain mages have like 4 mages at rank 1. Certain people have like, you know, and all these tournament teams, like, like, those are professional people. Those are people who play this game day in, day out professionally, memorizing every ability, memorizing every counter, memorizing how comps work, like strategizing, and not everyone has the time for that. So making Gladiator a more achievable thing should be a benefit. You know, who cares if someone else has Gladiator? If that makes them happy, good for them. If being 2700 makes you happy, good for you. Play at 2700. But you know, and I'm in that same boat, right? Like, I'm playing at 2880 is my highest experience in Legion, and you know, that's not rank 1 right now. I'm not 3000 rated. 2880, pretty good. You know, it was difficult to find partners and all types of things like that, but you know, with the influx of players that are going to be coming in come launch, I have hope. You know, guys, like, have hope, be excited. I know I am. Like, if your class isn't that good right now, it's okay. Numbers are going to change. Play what you enjoy playing. um I enjoy Warrior right now. Warriors are pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie, they're insane. All right, it may be a little OP, but you know, it's all good. We're not gonna talk about it, right? Because want to get that rank 1 this season. um, but yeah, you know, those are just my thoughts. I wanted to share with you guys how I felt about Warrior changes, how I felt about some of the PvP changes, how I feel about the community. I think it's gonna get better. I think it's gonna get larger. I think things are gonna be. There's still gonna be that bell curve, right? No matter what the distribution is, there's gonna be stratification. There's gonna be a bell curve. There's gonna be this ladder type system for rankings, and like, that's, you have to think about it in the way where different things are going to be more significant now. So your ranking is going to be more significant than your rating, maybe, for some people. um, but I just think that we should all remain positive, because I'm having a good time. Like, we all wanted something new, right? Legion was like, oh my god. And while people call BFA Legion 2.0, it doesn't feel like that to me. I've been playing since vanilla. I've played every single expansion. Minus kind of didn't really play Mists of Pandaria that much. I Yeah, and everything else I played at least a little bit. Maybe not seriously. Maybe I'm only 23, so you can imagine in vanilla. uh, but and TBC and Wrath. I mean, Wrath I actually PvE'd and stuff like that. But you know, be optimistic. There's potential. It's new. There's fun things. We're relearning things. That's the whole point. And yeah, like I just think there's a lot to look forward to. So the whole pessimistic point of view of people like, oh, Legion 2.0, nothing's changed. This sucks. My class, blah blah blah. You know, like that's just not true, right? Like it's a jaded point of view. Um, that being said, you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to your point of view. Maybe it doesn't line up perfectly in parallel with reality. However, that is your reality. Your perception is your reality. But objectively, things are different. We're learning things. I'm having fun. I hope you're all having fun because, you know, just have a positive outlook on it. You know, I'm excited, and I think that's gonna probably conclude this video. Um, but there's many more to come. It's gonna be up on my YouTube. I'll tweet about it. I guess I don't know all this new social media. I'm getting into it. It'll be obviously in my hope somehow I can get it on my Twitch maybe. Or maybe you're going to have to go to my website at clinicalgaming.net. We've got all types of guides there for you. We've got all types of products. We're going to be making t-shirts soon. A little gamer gear. We're doing tons of giveaways. There's just a lot in the making. So thank you all to everyone who's watched this video. It's really my pleasure to be doing this. Um, and I'm just glad to share my thoughts. You know, I think I have some good insights. I think I have some, you know, more of like an open-minded point of view that a lot of people don't have. That a lot of people who are, you know, stuck in this one small corner and they're like, well, this one thing is just ruining my whole gameplay. Well, maybe it's take a step back. But yeah, so I think that's gonna do it for this video. I appreciate it, guys. Go ahead and give a follow if you enjoyed. Once I get that sub button, go ahead and subscribe if you feel like you want to support the stream, if you want to support the content that I'm bringing you. But yeah, thank you. So I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.